real stories, real healing, real leadership. When women rise, voices break silence, and stories become strategy. Where women rise, where women rise, where women rise, hey, hey, hey. Where women rise, 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 yeah. This is deeper conversation.
This is Deeper Conversations
This is deeper
with Dr. Barbara Swinney.
Can't help but to start with, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with Miss Chaka Serrant, and the crowd goes wild. Chaka is the Caribbean queen, honey. We are here with Miss Chaka. I'm so excited to hear your story. I'm so excited to introduce you to the Deeper Conversations audience. This is Deeper Conversations. I'm your host, Dr. Barbara Swinney, founder and CEO of Deeper Women Lead Global, a platform established for women in leadership to heal, lead, and leverage their stories for legacies. And yes, Deeper Conversations is just another place, another space where women come to hear real stories about real healing for real leadership. I'm going to kick it over to our guest, Miss Chaka Serrant. She's going to tell you all about who she is, where she's been, what she's doing now, and how she's healed. Let's give it up again for Miss Chaka. Yay! Welcome to Deeper Conversations, Chaka.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love deeper healing for deeper leadership. I am all about leadership. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara, for inviting me on.
You are absolutely welcome. I'm excited for you to be here, and let's just jump into these stories. So you've said in the information that you submitted on your application, you said that you were muted for years, coming to America as a young child, the language barrier, the accent. What were some of those things that you had to overcome?
I mean, when you think about it, right? So I am from the island of Dominica. It is a very small island in the Caribbean. Most people do not know where it is or what it is. And every time I say from Dominica, they think I'm the one mispronouncing Dominican Republic, right?
Wow.
So if we backdate back to the 80s, and this is like current day, but if we go back to the 80s, right? If I told somebody where I was from, there was less of us here. So that was just like going from a very small community, right? Currently, the island has 70,000 people on the island. So that's not a lot.
Wow.
And then moving to Brooklyn, New York, where there's probably 7,000 people in a 5-block radius, in a country at the age of 6. And Dominica speaks a dialect of French because we were conquered by France and England at different times in our history. So that young, I was blending French or Creole and English into one sentence.
Wow.
So coming now to America, to a new school, all the buildings are way bigger than I've ever seen. There is a million more cars on the road than I had ever seen. And here I am, not only with multi-languages, but also an accent as a barrier.
Wow.
So I learned fast at a young age that to fit in, I had to remain quiet.
Wow.
That was like the first lesson I learned coming to America from the Caribbean.
Just blend in. Just don't say anything.
Yeah.
And when you were that age, is that where you feel like you lost your voice? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I didn't realize that I actually did that, right? Until on Facebook, a teacher I had back in, I guess, what is the equivalent of kindergarten here, she commented when I was posting things on Facebook, and I think I had like posted some videos. She was like, "Oh my God, this is the little girl that was in my class, and when I had to step out, I would come leave you in charge, and I would come back, and you would be at the front of the room, like, directing them, having the kids doing all their work, and all these things." And when she said that, I was like, "Really?" Because
Wow.
that wasn't like the little girl Shaka that I remembered, right? I was trying to navigate this new land, and I didn't know what that was. Had a single mom, so she was working full time, going to school full time, and it was me and my sister. So we were kind of trying to teach ourselves these things when we were growing up. So I had no
Wow.
idea I had actually silenced or muted myself when I was younger because of that.
Wow. So kind of being oblivious to the silence when you were 6 or when you were younger or through your early years. How did that show up at the table, Shaka? How did that show up in your leadership in your profession?
Well, I think it shows up, and a lot of people coin it as imposter syndrome for some.
Mm,
But
mm,
for me, it was like in situations where in my head, I knew the answer was XYZ, but I
mhm.
just assumed other people knew it better than me. Right? So I
Wow.
just didn't speak up, and, time and time, or even, like, it was as little as listening to, a motivational speaker or whatever, and I'm finishing things before they say it,
Yes.
but not thinking that I was that this is in me and I can do this, right?
Yes.
It's God, it just in so many ways in relationships with, friendships, not just even romantic relationships, where you're like, "Oh yeah, no, it's just me, this little girl, like
Yes.
here I am, I'm just helping," or I don't consider much of what I do as significant. I'm just like,
Mhm.
I'm just this little girl. I've always been skinny, I've always been
Yeah.
slim,
Yeah.
I'm only 5'5".
Yeah.
I ain't that tall. But I was just like, I just learned over time that here's my lane, kinda stay in it.
Yes.
There were pockets in my journey, and we might go through that, where I
Mhm.
did, sound my voice. I did raise my voice to
Mhm.
things, and I saw change, but that
Mhm.
didn't feel like that was who I was. I thought who I
Yes.
was like this silent one that needed to "You're not really like, that's not really the right thing to say," or "You don't
Yeah.
really know it," or "You're not that good. Let someone else that really knows it speak up
Yeah.
about it, because it's not time for you to do that. Like, just do what you need to do over here." So,
Wow. And
yeah.
then you just talked about, you were small in stature. You were always little. You were always tiny, and your voice, uh, your identity had become attached to smallness. So you started showing up in that way. You are a woman of faith. I read that in your bio. You love God and love Jesus. How did your faith play a part in this whole journey of coming into yourself, identifying with the smallness, but understanding that God was calling you to something greater?
It's interesting because I didn't grow up in church. My
Uh-huh.
mom was Catholic, but we weren't someone to say like every Sunday we're at church. So I never
Mhm.
knew that part of like religion or belief. When I
Mhm.
was in my 20s, I felt a nudge, which I know now is the Holy Spirit saying, "You need to come. You need to come. You
Mhm.
need to come." And I, picked a random church and went, and shortly got saved.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's been a journey. I've learned that there were certain areas in my life that it was easy to submit to God.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
there's certain areas I was like holding on for dear life. Please
Yeah.
don't take, no, 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 no. Like, let me do it, or let me
Yeah.
help. Or if he said, wait. So I think learning that God's plan for me, which is
Mhm.
interesting because when I first got saved, Jeremiah 29:11 to
Yes.
14 was like the scripture that God like writ on my heart. I had it like a little sticky
Mhm.
note on my laptop.
Mhm.
Think that I still didn't believe it. I think
Yes.
early on, God was calling me to speak. I even had glimpses of me speaking on stages, but I
Yes.
didn't believe what God said. And it was
Wow.
through mistakes, it was
Mhm.
through hardship, it
Uh-huh.
was through health issues, it was through issues at work, it was through all like deaths in the family, therapy,
Mhm.
through all those things to finally being like, "God told you this a
Yeah.
while ago." and you need to listen. So here I am, starting to not just listen, but deciding to partner with God. But it was a
Wow.
process. It was a process.
I like that, deciding to partner with God, because
Yeah.
a lot of times we coming to his plan for us, and we start walking in his will for us. But at the same time, we want to go our way and we want to do our thing. And then it's not until we lock arms with God that we're able to get the results that we need.
Yeah.
Shaka, how do you balance, as a woman of God and a woman that's professional, that's been in the boardrooms? How do you balance when to be silent, because there is a time when you need to be quiet, and speaking out, because sometimes when you've identified with silence, you think speaking out is rude?
Mhm, mhm.
So how do you balance the two?
Remaining in prayer. I think
Yes.
one of the things I used to do, it is so funny because I remember I was going to work one day and I was like blasting gospel music and I'm like praying, going in that parking lot praying, and a coworker was like, "Oh, I see you were doing some heavy spiritual warfare in that car."
You are being a spiritual ninja. Get them.
Oh my goodness. But honestly, I think the days when I get it right is when I started off that morning, giving
Hmm.
that day back to God, helping him,
Hmm.
asking him to help me to order my steps. And really just listening through that throughout the day and being in
Hmm.
prayerful all throughout the day. I think that we have skills, we have things that we've been through, we have knowledge. We think sometimes that we're the ones doing all the things, but it's
Yes.
those moments when I really lean on God in all things. I can look back at the days like, okay, you said it at the right time. You did
Hmm.
this. You stayed silent. You're
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely there's times you got to be like, all
Yes.
right, let me just let this ship land where it lands right now. And it's not time for Shaka to say
Yeah.
anything.
Because
It's
sometimes it's
definitely,
not your
yeah,
fight, right? It's not for you to fight, and you don't have to insert
exactly.
yourself where God has told you, this is not your land. This is not the mission.
1000%.
Good.
Yeah. And not let me pause here. I am
Okay.
not saying that there are moments that I was supposed to be silent, that I remain silent, right?
Right.
But I
Right.
think after a while you're frustrated, you're like, no, we need to get this out. So I think
Hmm.
you have to continue to train yourself, right? You're not going to
Yes.
be perfect in everything. You're not going to know the right time to do all the things. But I think as we continue to grow in faith, like God will
Yeah.
direct us. And we learn from the lessons like, "Oop, I shouldn't have said anything that time." So it is
Yes.
a
Hmm.
process, it's
That's
learning, but
good.
it's really just leaning on God in those moments,
Yes.
as you go along. Yeah.
And sometimes I know sometimes I have to fight the good girl, God girl complex. And it's the when you have spoken up, and sometimes it may be forceful, it may be with a little it may be a little intense, and then you
Yeah.
start to feel bad about it, but it was absolutely what needed to be said at the time. And that, I believe, is where your relationship with God comes in, and you go back and say, was that the right thing to say? And sometimes he'll say, absolutely. They
Ye
needed to hear it, they needed to hear it from you, and they needed to hear it in the way that you just said it. So, really getting to know yourself and understanding when you're hearing from God, and when you're not. Because I get that when you've been so nice and sweet and small, and then you start to show up in your big self, and people are like, whoa,
wait a minute.
what's happening here? So, we're going to talk a little bit about this church hurt, Shaka. You mentioned that in your bio.
Yeah.
There are so many things that we can be up against, and sometimes we feel like church is a safe place. And I said on the last episode that oftentimes when we're going through the healing process, it is the expectation that we're actually trying to heal, because
Mhm,
we are
mhm.
expecting things of people that they're just not capable of give. And it's not that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, is that they didn't do what we expected them to do. They didn't play their role. So talk to us a little bit about the church hurt you experienced.
I think, when I was first saved, I used to wonder, Father, like, why did you wait so long to show me this, right?
Mhm.
But as I walk in this journey as a believer, I'm realizing that it was actually a blessing for me to
Mhm.
come into
Mhm.
the church later on in my
Mhm.
life because
Mm.
I didn't have like these expectations of, I just knew what's happening in the world, right? I didn't have
Yes.
expectations of like they were supposed to act this way. Now,
Yes.
yes, because I had gotten close to them and for the way things happened to unravel and unfold,
Mm-hmm.
that was hurtful because I was like, well, you know me, like, why wouldn't you ask me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And because everyone is not here to like fend for themselves, just to give you kind of just a small synopsis.
Right.
I was married at the time, young marriage, got separated. Things were told to the pastor. Um, they addressed me. I didn't say everything because I kind of froze up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I just felt this shun. And another leader in the church told me, don't come back for 3 months. And I was like,
Wow.
well, I mean, I know I did something wrong in this, right? Like I
Right.
know there was some, but
Mm-hmm.
I had always thought that this was a place for broken people to come, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
this was an opportunity that I would probably need counseling through.
Yes.
And I didn't get that. I was told to not come back, right? And this was not from the pastors.
Right.
So my natural thing, because I come from a corporate world, is, well, let me have a meeting with the leaders, right?
That's right.
With like the leaders.
Yeah.
So I scheduled a session and there was a lot of like attitude toward, like you could just tell that they were no longer um excited. They were no longer interested in what I had to say. Their opinions were already formed.
Yes.
And I had there was another session. I apologized for my part and everything. It was like a few people were part of this
Yeah.
conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but there was something else happening and I didn't know what it was. So I booked a meeting to talk through it. And when things were unraveling, I was like, well, that's not true. Well, wait, that's not, like, I didn't do that. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But the kicker was I had proof, right? I had proof in text messages. And I showed it and the body shifted like, oh, we
Wow.
don't know the whole story.
Right.
But it didn't change what I was told to do, right? It was just like, okay, we'll review this and get back to you. And that was never done, right? So fast forward, I went to another church. I like bawled, cried out to this new pastor. And I was like, this is all that happened. And I want to know if I come here that I'm going to be safe and you're not going to, like, I was just like, like, I just vomited everything that had happened. And I felt the response made me feel safe. So then that became my new church in that season. And that pastor said, well, the other church wasn't all bad. So you write them a thank you letter for the things that they had done. And I did that. And I said, thank you for all the things. Cause I was like singing and I was like the armor bearer for the co-pastor. I had done a lot of things.
You were in
that
it.
church. I was
in it
to win it. Okay. I was in it. Cause if I make a decision with something, I'm going to go all out. Like if I know God told me to do, I'm going to go all out. So I did that, wrote the letter, and the demeanor changed. It was kinder. The person who told me not to come, the Holy Spirit was like, go and hug them. And I was like, me? No, you're not talking. I'm like, praise and worship. I said, go and hug them. And I'm like, but I didn't do the thing. Like, I didn't do it. Go and hug them.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it. Go and hug. And I just did it. And we both started crying.
Wow.
And I know that was healing for the Holy Spirit. I know that God did not tell me to go back to that. That was a season. I had to go through it. But going back to what I said before, I think because I did not grow up in the church, I never tied my faith to people.
That's good.
My faith was always with God. So
that's good.
People hurt me whether they were in church or not, but I never equated it back to my belief. Like, God, you did this. It was never, like, I think sometimes we do that and we're like, well, God, why did this happen? You made this happen. No, people are people. They're hurt too. They're broken too. They're going through things too. They are not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. But maybe this is just a sign that God is shifting me from here to here for whatever I need for the next season. And I'm very thankful for that because I wasn't really deep in my faith at the time, meaning years in. And I'm happy that is something that God has always put in me, because regardless of what I've been through in my faith, I have he is my all in all. Like he is my heavenly father, and I'm not deviating from that, regardless of what's happening or what people do to me.
And if we can get that, Shaka, if we truly grasp and understand that our identity is in Christ and there is absolutely nothing you can do to break his love for you, what can any of these mere mortals do
Absolutely.
to us? Now, in all of that, somewhere you had these two beautiful little boys that came along.
Yeah.
How was it navigating? I'm sure as you were becoming a mom and raising boys, and even now just navigating the healing journey and transitioning from the silent little skinny small Shaka to this woman full of power and who knows her voice.
Mhm.
How are you navigating that process with them?
You know what? They are seeing me grow through the process.
Yes.
And I was like, "Father, who you sure you wanted to be me to be there, mama?"
Yeah.
But I think it's so interesting because my boys came into this world and the situation was very hard times for me in my life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they are proof that God gives beauty for ashes, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think early on, I decided that no matter the circumstance that they were born in, God intended for them to be there. And I am
Mhm.
just the steward of who they are. I am not the owner, right?
Good stuff.
They belong to God. So whatever wisdom God has put in me, whatever knowledge about God that I have experienced and
Mhm,
know that I know that I know,
mhm.
um, and as I'm walking as a believer, even my love for technology, I believe God placed all those things in me because that is what they need for their assignment.
Wow.
So for me, I think number one is becoming a mom is hard.
Mhm.
The balance or the coordination with building your relationship. Like before a mom, I was in my car, like praying all the way to work, coming back, reading the word. Like I was
Mhm.
like doing all these things, bouncing everywhere in church
Yeah.
and all the things, right? And then here comes these one human, and then you're like, okay, and then two humans, you're like, this is not two,
Yes.
it's like exponential, right? Like the word
Yeah.
says one can put 1,000, two, 10,000. Two kids is like 10,000. 10,000, like 10,000.
Yes.
So like navigating that while I grow with God, honestly,
Mhm.
it's seasons. There's times that I have more
Mhm.
time, there's times that I have less time, there's times that I have to carve out time wherever
Mhm.
I can
Yeah.
fit it in. But the one thing is like just continuing to like anchor them back into God. Some
Yes.
Saturdays, we just put on praise and worship, and they know
Mhm.
that's my thing by CC Winans is Mama's song, and we'll play my favorite song, and we'll dance and praise, and we'll play their favorite gospel
Mhm.
song, dance and praise, and have fun. So for me, it's like them seeing me through the process, and I've even learned to even do things like apologize to them if I did
Mhm.
something, if I assume they did it and they didn't, right? So to me, that will help them know humility. It'll help
Mhm.
them know that mama's not perfect, but God still loves her, right? To have a
Mhm.
real
Mhm.
healthy relationship with God. Because I think I didn't have a necessarily healthy relationship when I first started out with God because I think it's closely tied to fatherhood. And my
Mhm.
dad, though he's gone
Mm.
now, we didn't have a close relationship going on. He was kind of in and out of my life. So I try to make sure the things that I learned from my life that I'm infusing in
Mhm.
them, making sure God is at the center of it all.
Mhm. So I know that God is likely the answer to all of these questions that I'm asking. How did you? How did you
Yeah,
do this or that? And it always goes back to God and what He's able to how He's able to carry you through all of this. But if you're talking to another woman, as you often do,
yeah,
um, how do you help them navigate? Sometimes we need a natural way of doing things. I know that God has given us all of these natural tools that we can use. What are some of the things you did as a natural part of your journey to healing?
Oh, yeah. So,
Yeah.
prayer is foundational, but I think
Yes.
number 1 is the people that you have around you, right? So,
Mhm.
I think I have a close small circle of friends that I am able to be vulnerable
Mhm.
with, and
Mhm.
I know that they are not judging me, like, and even if I mess up, I reveal that to them because guess
Mhm.
what? They're my prayer warriors in the background. They're gonna give me the encouraging word, but they're also going to give me the correction, right? So I
Yes.
do think that God puts a council of people, and sometimes I like to call it my personal board of directors that
Yes.
include people that are my age and also mentors that are older than me, right? Like I have a woman
Yes.
of faith who is in Tennessee now, and I will bounce things off of her that I'm going through. So you need that. And then secondly, therapy. Like therapy
Yes.
helps me out. And they
Yes.
try to tell me to take medication and nah, nah, nah. But,
Yeah.
you know, therapy was instrumental in processing all of it because when my dad passed, I also went through a series of deaths in my family,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
a lot of deaths, like people under the age of 51 dying,
Wow.
back to back deaths every 2 weeks. Literally, every time I sat on my therapist's couch, and we used to meet weekly and then every 2 weeks, I was telling her someone else had died in my family.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was like a season for a year and a half.
Wow.
Um, so again, I had to take 6 months off of work. That's another thing. I think sometimes, especially Black women, we do not want to admit
My gosh.
that we need a break. We need
Yes.
time off. You pay for
Absolutely.
disability insurance if you work for corporate America for
Yes.
that purpose. And that was the first time I realized that I needed a break. And one
Yes.
thing my therapist told me, she was like, "You moved states.
Mhm.
That takes a
Mhm.
year to 2 to get reacclimated. You had a child. That takes a woman 1 to 2 years for her body to get back in order. You had a breakup. That takes a year to adjust to. You
Mm.
lost your father. That takes another 1 to 2 years. You you close your trucking business. That takes another year or sometimes more financially to
Wow.
recover from." So she started naming all these things that I had been through in like a 3-year period. And she's like,
Yes.
"You technically need 8 to 10 years to get back to the true Shaka."
Yes.
I
And
mean,
I
prayer.
I can agree with that, Shaka. When I went to after divorce, when I went to my therapist, because we do just push through. And she said, it takes 3 to 5 years to heal from a divorce. And I said, you got 18 months. I got stuff to do. But we don't even understand the magnitude of all of the things that we're going through. And some of these things that we're going through are things that all need to be handled in isolation. They're tragedies.
Absolutely.
And now we're
Absolutely.
dealing with compounded trauma on this is all of the stuff just happening after 30. What about all the
Girl.
stuff that was embedded in us
Ooh.
as children that we have to go back and we just keep going and keep going and keep showing up and keep putting on our ruby woo lipstick and our heels and our suits and we keep showing up for everybody. It's just like when when your children come and ask you for money and you say we don't have it right now, but somehow you produce it. They don't believe you. That's what happens when we keep showing up
Wow.
and not being fully ready to show up.
Yeah.
We're saying one thing, but we're showing the people something different, and then we wonder why they're acting like we're able to show up.
Whoo,
It's
you just
again healing the expectation.
yes.
Stop teaching people you're teaching people what to expect from you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? You know what too? A long time ago, I realized that I was working so hard
Hmm.
to meet what I thought people wanted from me.
Yes.
So instead of being me, I
Yes.
was trying to make sure I was this perfect person for everybody else.
Yes.
And that made me fall flat on my head a million times over and over again because it simply does not work. And sorry, it was stemmed from that silence when I was a little child, like little girl when I was trying to fit in. It morphed into, well, let me be this perfect Chaka so that everyone accepts me. And no one accepted me. And I know often ran away because I was afraid to get hurt from a situation, right? So we do this over and over again. We don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves the time. We don't give ourselves the process it, and then we wonder why we're continuously making the same mistakes.
It's all illusionary, Chaka.
Yeah.
Because here's what's happening. This is just my theory based on my work and what I've learned about the science of identity, as well as me having to unpack my own identity. It's all an illusion. Because you are coming to a situation trying to behave in a way that they think you're supposed to behave. They're coming to the situation with the same thing that they're doing the same thing you're doing. So when their illusionary perspective meets your illusionary perspective, it's nothing. It's just an empty We're all crazy. Only about, now this is actually research. Only about 10% of the 8 billion people on the planet are truly self-aware. And self-awareness is beyond just your knowledge of yourself. Yes, I know I've been silent, but I don't do anything about it. So knowing you are aware, or knowing you are behaving a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that you have a high level of awareness. A high level of awareness means I know it, I feel it, and I see it in the moment, and I can fix it in the moment. And being aware even of how my silence is impacting the room, because your voice is not in the room is not even as valuable as it needs to be because you're present.
Ooh, that's so good. That is so good.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
And we're all crazy, and everybody absolutely has to do their own work, or we'll continue on this loop of insanity. I believe that America is in the state that it's in because we have all of this. It's like a mosaic of identities in crisis, which creates one big thing that's in a crisis.
Yeah.
So just hearing how you, and I grew up a church girl, and all of us has to end up on somebody's couch. And I think not having that as a part of your schema, I believe, like you said earlier, was beneficial to you because you didn't have an unrealistic expectation of the church and what they should be doing for you. And then also you said something that was very powerful, because you are a woman in tech. And you said that you believe that God gave you that curiosity for technology, the know-how in technology, because your boys were supposed to have it, because he knows the end from the beginning. So let me put in her what she needs. Let me have her go through these years of silence, because I believe in that silence, a certain type of resilience was built in you. You were never that silent girl, but perhaps you needed to be that so that you can learn and pick up some other things. So God is just amazing. And I just love to hear about what he's doing in your life. Now you're showing up in this space, being the voice, really, of technology and where we need to go with AI and helping us with our businesses. Tell them a little bit about who Chaka is now and what you're doing now with these gifts that God has put in you.
So, just to put it simply, I am someone who pray, listen, and decide. And for a long time, like in high school, I took a computer class and decided I wanted to go into computers and business. I didn't even know like management information systems existed. And I think earlier on in my career, when I started my faith journey, I was just so in love with God that I just wanted to be home reading the Bible. And I'm like, why do you have me at this job? And like now 22 years later, I'm still in technology, right? So what I've done, I've built a couple of businesses in the past, always as side hustles while I worked my corporate
Mhm.
job, and kind of
Mhm.
kept technology outside of the businesses I was doing. And I realized that I was my own bottleneck.
Wow.
And years ago, God had always put it in my heart not to only make 7 streams of income, but to be able to design a life that I didn't want to take a vacation from. And one of
Mhm.
those things was when my oldest was 5, God told me to homeschool, and I was like, homeschool? How is that going to happen?
Yeah.
So, fast forward, I am here now. I have decided to listen to God, to
Yes.
let my voice be heard, and to teach women, small business owners, corporate professionals who have side hustles to leverage technology, AI, automation in their businesses so that their business does not become the thing that drive their health issues down. It does
Wow.
not become thing that keeps them from spending time with family. And it actually is a thing that they can use their God given gifts to bless others with. So I teach small business owners and corporate professionals how to leverage AI so they could reclaim time in their business so they can focus on what matters most.
I love that, Shaka. Now, where can people go to find you?
You can find me on all platforms at AI Accelerate HQ, and or Chaka Serrant on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the things. I am very present there on all of the platforms.
So, you lived your early years muted.
Yeah.
Now, for the woman who may be watching or may be listening to this who feels unseen, unheard, how what advice could you give her to get her voice, to find her voice?
Okay. If you're listening and you feel unheard or like you've used up your grace, right? I think sometimes we're just
Oh,
like,
that's
God
good.
does not want to do this for me.
Mm,
Here's what I want you to know: you are enough.
that's good.
You matter. You are a piece of this beautiful puzzle that is putting together. You don't need another credential. You don't need another degree. You don't need another certification before you're allowed to speak and to do whatever God asked you to do.
That's good.
Whatever you need to learn, God will teach you along the way. So stop being scared. Stop making excuses because it is time to share your story. And the
Yes.
scripture that I always hold on to is his grace is sufficient, because in those moments where you're
Yes.
weak, that is where his strength is going to make you strong. It's going to show up for you. So just hold on to that and know that it is your time.
Let me tell you something. Shaka is not silent anymore. She is definitely using her voice, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, Shaka, that you came on today to Deeper Conversations. You let us look behind the curtain. You let us see the weakness and the strength. And I'm just grateful to add your voice to this conglomerate of the podcast. So thank you so much. I'm so excited. I can't wait until this episode is released so my audience can meet Miss Chaka Serrant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Barber, for having me on. I am
Yay.
super excited. And you know me, any questions you have about AI, you know where to find me.
Yes, on my phone. But I meant for you to talk to them a little bit about. I know you've created a couple of products lately. I
Okay.
forgot to. I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Awesome. So recently I launched something called the AI Content Studio. And what that is it was built from my heart. So I did not love social media posting. I just wanted to go on there when I wanted to show something about my family or whatever. I did not want to be someone that was tied to social media platforms because I'm already at the computer every day of my life for work.
Yes.
So in me doing and building my brand, I realized that I was spending too many hours doing social media. I realized I was doing too many iterations with my VA to do the social media for me. So what I did was I removed the tech from it and I created an app. So every founder, every CEO, every small and mid-sized business owner can use the AI content studio to automate their week of posting in just 1 hour. So this
Wow.
connects to your brand voice. It puts all the information in about your brand colors, your brand kits. It gathers competitor intel information, and it writes your social media post in your brand voice, and it's a unique content for each platform. So what you say on LinkedIn is not going to look the same as what you say on TikTok. And once you review your 7 days of content, you click one button that's connected to your scheduling tool, and it is scheduled on all platforms. So to find out more about that, you can go to studio.aiaccelerate.co.
Wow. And then you can go to the beach.
Absolutely, honey.
Well, thank you again so much, Chaka, for lending your voice to deeper conversations. I am certain that somebody is going to be impacted by what you've had to say today. We got a chance to meet the woman behind the story. We got a chance to hear about real leadership and real healing. So thank you so much for coming on today. And I can't wait until this episode is released because I know it's going to be impactful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. See you soon.
Yay!
Real stories, real healing, real leadership. When women rise, voices break silence, and stories become strategy. Where women rise, where women rise, hey, where women rise, 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 yeah. This is deeper conversation.
This is Deeper Conversations
This is deeper
with Dr. Barbara Swinney.